Hi, this is Joe again with another review. I know I haven't done a review in a while, a couple of weeks. Sorry about that, I've been busy. But since after last night, I figured I should do a review of this thing. Excuse me. And I'm doing this thing the morning after the god-awful production that NBC put on last night with Peter Pan, a live production of Peter Pan, with Allison Williams as the star who played Peter Pan and Christopher Walken played Captain Hook. And let me tell you, this production sucked. It had to be the worst version of Peter Pan I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going back and seeing the many more version on television once. I actually saw Peter Pan on Broadway with Sandy Duncan playing Peter Pan, and I've seen as they did previously, review of the Disney animated cartoon of Peter Pan. This one last night on NBC was the worst. It was god awful. And if they had any brains in NBC, they should not replay this show. It sucked. It's horrible. And it was so bad. Let me tell you how bad it was. It was so bad I couldn't even watch the whole thing. That's how god awful this thing was. And it was so bad that I was hoping that the cables holding Allison Williams up would break and she would fall 30 feet to the floor. That's how I was hoping that would happen, or at least would give some excitement to this thing. It was horrible. It was such a terrible production, first of all. And the only reason why Allison Williams, who stars on the HBO series Girls, the only reason why she has got the job as playing Peter Pan in this production is because of who her father is. Her father is Brian Williams, the host of the NBC Nightly News. That's why his daughter, Allison Williams, got the part as Peter Pan in NBC's production, or live production of Peter Pan. Let me tell you, the problem they have with Allison Williams, I mean, she can sing alright, I mean, she didn't have a bad voice. The problem was that she smiled way too much for this. I don't know if it had to be about nerves, because it was a live show. But I don't know if it had to do with nerves or whatever, but she smiled way too much for the character. True, she's supposed to be a boy, she's supposed to have fun and all that type of thing. But she smiled way too much and way too often for me on this show. So her performance was just terrible. And Christopher Walken looked like an old man already. And it looks like it was times where he forgot his lines, and he didn't know what the hell to do with himself when you in this thing as Captain Hook. And it was horrible. It was so many long periods where it just dragged on and on and on and on and on. And not only that, but they changed a lot of what the show, the Broadway show, what I remember it was. First off, you had the three kids, the Darling family. Of course, they had the two parents, and of course, actually on the state, not only on the stage show, but also in the Disney cartoon, the same person who played Mr. Darling played Captain Hook. Not in this case. The guy who played Mr. Darling played Smee, or Mr. Smee, when they went to Neverland. So you didn't have, Christopher Walken did not play both parts. He only played the Captain Hook part, and that's it. And the other thing that was terrible was he had the dog. Nana, the dog. Now, originally, in all various productions, except for the Disney cartoon, all of the stage productions of Peter Pan, you had somebody in a dog suit, or a Saint Bernard costume. Because now it's supposed to be a Saint Bernard. This dog was not a Saint Bernard, it looked like a mutt. And then what the hell this dog was. And it was definitely not a person in a dog suit. It was definitely not a dog costume. On the stage production, you could obviously tell there was somebody in a dog suit because the dog was way too big to be a normal size Saint Bernard. So that's the problem right there. The other problem was that Wendy, in the beginning of the show, the parents of Mr. and Mrs. Darling was going to take Wendy out of the nursery and give her her own room because it was like too old already to be in the nursery. That part wasn't even in the production last night. It wasn't even in it. You also had you had a thing with Wendy during the whole show. At least the beginning part of the show, where Wendy was telling her brothers Michael and John stories about Peter Pan. Wrong. In the NBC version, they did not have that. They had stories of Wendy telling the story of Cinderella to Michael and John. Like Michael and John really want to hear the story of a girl finding a prince, instead of an action adventure story, which Peter Pan was. That they didn't have in there either. Of course, there was also the politically correct version. What it means is, instead of the Indians being called Indians, well, they were called Indians from time to time in the Broadway production and the Disney cartoon, but they're called the Red Men. And remember, like I said, my Disney review show of Peter Pan, the Disney version, and he said that what makes the Red Men red was one of the songs in the Disney cartoon. This thing, you didn't have it. It was like politically correct. They didn't even call Indians; they were called natives. To be politically correct, because since NBC is such a liberal kiss ass, liberal state television network as it is, they didn't even go there, calling the Indians or the Indians Red Men. So they took all that stuff out, and I mean, it's so bad. I can't even believe I spent more than 7 minutes talking about this thing. That's how awful the thing is. And the Lost Boys, when they go to Neverland, they say, "Oh, tell us about Cinderella. Winnie, tell us a story about Cinderella." Like the Lost Boys want to hear Cinderella. I mean, come on. It's stretching the disbelievable here. And to see the Pirates, Captain Hook and his band of pirates, dancing to the tango. Come on. Who the hell are they? I want to know who genius it was to do these extra musical numbers that was not in the original production of this thing. And of course, my pet peeve was always with Peter Pan was, ever since Peter Pan first became a Broadway show back in the early 20th century, like the early 1900s, they always cast a boy to play, not a boy, they play a girl to play Peter Pan. And the reason for that is because actually Peter Pan is supposed to fly, and it's easier for the people who work in the cables to lift a woman than a 12 or 13-year-old boy, because men are naturally heavier and bulkier than women are. So it's easier to lift a woman up than a man up. And the other thing is too, of course, if they hire an 11, 12, or 13-year-old boy to play Peter Pan on Broadway, they won't last very long because the voice changes. They actually change it at that age. So they don't want to hire a boy because of those problems. So that's why, since time immemorial, they always hire a woman to play Peter Pan on Broadway and wherever. Except for the Disney cartoon, they made the Disney cartoon a boy and it was voiced by a boy. In the Disney animated version of Peter Pan, it was the only time that it was portrayed as a boy and was voiced by a boy actor. But to have Allison Williams in it, I mean, she was. I mean, I'm not saying that she wasn't bad looking. I'm not saying that she wasn't, alright, as a singer. I mean, she was alright. I mean, she can carry a tune. She wasn't awful. But especially since he had too many nerves because he kept smiling all the time. Nervous smiling all the time. I mean, she was always smiling throughout the whole show, even during the sword fight. She was smiling. So she wasn't like tough. Like you're supposed to portray a boy, so she's supposed to be like a little bit tougher. She was like a whippy. She was like a whippy Peter Pan. Okay. I mean, I saw Sandy Duncan on Broadway playing Peter Pan, and she was tough. She had to be tough playing the part. But to have the daughter of Brian Williams playing this part, I mean, it's really ridiculous, really awful, and this production really sucked. I mean, it sucked big time. It was so bad last night. I mean, it's not even funny how bad Peter Pan was. I mean, like I said, it was so bad with him. But after about an hour and a half, it changed the channel. It even changed to a stupid football game last night. You know it's gotta be pretty bad if I'm watching a football game over that, considering the fact how much I hate football. Football is the worst fucking sport. Excuse my language. It's the worst fucking sport ever created on the face of the earth. And even I watched the football game over Peter Pan. That's how bad the show was last night. It was so god awful bad. And I mean, it would be hard pressed to cast Allison Williams in anything. If Chris Walker was already an established actor, I wouldn't even hire him for a dog catcher. How bad his performance was last night, and Allison Williams' performance as well. She was bad. I mean, it was even the end of the show. I haven't the cat. Oh, let me see the end. And I want to watch the end of the show to see how it is. The end of the show was bad. Even they changed the ending. What I mean, when they changed time to change the ending was the original ending was after when Peter Pan saved Wendy and Michael and John from the pirates. Wendy says, "Peter, we want to go back home. Take us, we want to go home. Can you help us get home?" He says, "Okay, Wendy. Wendy, for you, I help you get home." And the next thing you know is that the three darling children, wake up in their own beds the next day. And then, of course, years later, like 20 years later, whenever it was, Peter Pan finally returns from Neverland to see Wendy, and he found out that Wendy grew up. And what I remember, and I had this argument with my father and my sister last night. What I remember was he came back later on and found out that Peter found out that Wendy grew up. And said, "Oh, I'm not Wendy anymore. I'm Jane. I'm saying to be called Jane now." And it says, "Oh no, that was Wendy's daughter." And so, granted, it was Wendy's daughter, in later versions. But I remember saying when we went to see it with Sandy Duncan, I remember he came back and found out that Wendy grew up, and Wendy didn't want to be called Wendy. I'm Jane. We had a debate back and forth, and it was really Jane's, supposedly Wendy's daughter, and all that stuff. But regardless of that, the show was awful. As a matter of fact, played the older Wendy was Minnie Driver, played the older Wendy. But regardless, no, God Himself could not save this production. That's how bad this was. And just saw a review in the New York Post about the show last night. They gave it 2 stars. I think the critic was being generous. I will give it a minus 10 stars. That's how bad this production was. It sucked big time. I mean, there's no words for me to describe how god awful this show was. It was awful. It was terrible. And if NBC does decide to replay this thing, don't bother watching it, because you're going to lose 3 hours of your life that you're never ever going to get back. Because that's how it's awful. It's terrible. It cannot suck enough. So please avoid avoid this thing if they ever repeat it, because and most likely they all gonna repeat this thing, but the show is terrible. I can't believe they spent at least 15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes, talking about this thing. Because it's not even, that's 15 minutes. I'm not going to get back now because I'm talking about this god awful production of Peter Pan. Because it's horrible. It's horrible. And if you want to see a real version of Peter Pan, I don't know if it's you get a DVD of it or the Blu-ray of Mary Moore playing Peter Pan, or the Disney cartoon. I mean, it's like comparing Gone with the Wind. I mean, tell you how good the Mary Moore version is, the Disney version is, and even the Sandy Duncan version compared to the NBC production last night. It's like comparing Gone with the Wind, right, which is one of the greatest films, not the greatest film of all time, to Planet 9 from Outer Space, which is generally considered the worst movie in this. That's how bad the NBC production of Peter Pan was last night. That bad. It was that bad. So that's my review for the NBC production of Peter Pan. Thanks for watching the video. Please click on it. Please rate it. Please subscribe to my channel. And please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. And please watch some of my other videos. Some of my older videos. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.